Instead of letting anybody just say random, like whatever comes to their mind, how about instead of that, you send people to therapy so they can work through the issues that they have and so they won't say insane shit like that. Anybody ever think about that? Wild, I know, incredible. Have people actually work through their issues instead of giving like more voice and more clout and more ability to do harm to mentally ill people who need a doctor and not a Twitter account. I don't know too much about Glenn Greenwald. I never was a part of his like rise, or I guess his continual fall into being more right-wing, more strange, more weird. Is he a part of the group of people who say that people like Tucker Carlson are more like communists than anything else? Was he that in that group of people? That is remarkable. That's remarkably stupid. Anyways, he said this absolutely batshit crazy, insane statement on Tucker Carlson apparently a month ago.
Everyone there's all kinds of studies about how, people talk a lot about, journalists love to talk about their death threats they get, online. And everybody knows that if
people keep complaining about people trying to kill them. Loser.
you get, like, the people who are really planning on coming to kill you aren't the ones tweeting at you that they're going to do that, right? Like, being able to tweet that is like an outlet.
Right.
Just like people say watching pornography is an outlet and alleviates the desire to go. When you give people a channel to express themselves, to express their anger and their critique, and whether it's like QAnon, which I think happened to be more of like a kind of protest movement, we're saying things that we know are upsetting elites, and that's kind of part of why we're saying it. It
Yes.
became like a kind of identifier of dissent. When you crush it, you've now taken away the outlet, the peaceful outlet that people have. And
this is his actual point? That people being allowed to say death threats online is actually good because it gives them a death threat outlet. What do you think that they would be doing more do you think they'd be doing more killings if they weren't allowed to do death threats? So you think death threats are actually good for society? That's what he's saying, right? He's saying that it's good that we have death threats and we shouldn't crush death threats online because it provides people a reason to not go out and actually commit murder. What? Peaceful? I don't think encouraging people to go kill somebody is peaceful. That's peaceful to you? That's what you consider peaceful? Who are these people, bro? These guys are insane, man. Never faced a single struggle in their entire lives. Silver spoon besties. This is remarkable to me. Let them keep doing their death threats. Let them keep literally lying and trying to ruin the country with actual lies. It's okay because it'll never amount to anything in the real world. The more people are allowed to talk about how they want to kill people and whether or not people should be killed is actually good for society. You are insane. These people are insane, bro. How do you even get a position like this? And also, everything that you don't want to believe is actually true about like people who you cozy up to when it comes to politics, that's not real. It's actually just like a big meme. And the reason why they're saying this and the reason why they believe that everybody who is a Democrat is a pedophile, adrenochrome drinking, interdimensionally contacting spiritually evil demonic force here to usurp the will of God, who is also Trump himself. He is actually the third piece of the Holy Trinity. If you didn't know, it's like the Father, the Son, and Donald Trump. It's very true. I don't know, like the same thing when they believe that John F. Kennedy was going to rise from the grave and walk the earth for 3 days and then install Donald Trump as the King, God, Emperor of the United States. Also, like the January 6th riot, also the riot, also the Charlottesville riot, and other right-wing riots. Like, do we forget like a lot of like the one percenters, the Proud Boys, the people who tried to kill Gretchen Whitmer, the guys who tried to start a race war during BLM protests by trying to kill people, that one security guard that a lot of conservatives tried to say was killed by BLM like rioters, but was actually killed by right-wing protagonists. The guys who were riding in blood on like SUV cars, those guys, they should just be allowed to give more death threats. Really? More death threats would actually be good for the world? You are insane.
When you tell them they can no longer use the internet to gather with like-minded people and exchange
to do death
grievances and
threats?
organize, what do you think?
Organize? Wait, so they're not just doing death threats, they're organizing? So the people who are saying death threats, so the people who throw death threats should be allowed to organize. And what are they organizing? What do you guys think? They go online and they believe that people should be killed and they should be allowed to openly and freely organize. What do you think that they're going to curious. I wonder what they'll come up with.
Think is going to happen.
Well, exactly.
They have no other alternative but to engage in destabilizing and violent ends. And I think a lot of what we saw on January 6th was that notion that, well, we don't really have the democratic process or the basic civil liberties that we were taught as children we can expect by being in the United States.
What are you talking about? You all vote and you lost. And a lot of you didn't vote and you still lost. What's happening? What do you mean? I'm out of my mind. Every single time a conservative loses, apparently it's just because the election was stolen and not because they weren't able to convince enough people to vote for them. I'm sorry. Allowing them to organize death threats and maybe even organize to make good on those death threats is not going to be good. I don't know. With these people, they really forget. When they go so hard on this like sort of like free speech absolutist standpoints, they kind of forget about the whole idea of the fact that words can turn into actions. Actions begin as ideas, and ideas come into the world as words, and words can make people commit actions. This is not something that should be surprising to anyone. Everybody knows this. Nobody would be talking about politics if we didn't think that we could get words to make people do actions. This is very simple to understand. Everybody should understand the idea of words make people can call people to action. Whatever happened to a call to action? Literal words calling people to do something, like massive protests, peaceful protests as well. That's all words that get turned into actions. I don't know what's happening here. This is so ridiculous to me. A lot of these people, they just simply do not understand the idea that, well, honestly, I don't want to say that. Like a lot of them, this is a ploy. This is a trick. This is simply just a trick. They're just hiding their power level. That's what I'm kind of thinking, is that a lot of these people are simply just hiding their power level. They want to be able to convince the normies to be able to allow them to commit heinous acts and hate crimes by allowing them to organize the ability to form those groups that will later commit hate crimes. Did the ability to talk to each other and organize stop like the Nazis from coming to power? Did the ability to talk to each other and organize stop like the South in the Civil War from going crazy and fighting a war over the ability to rape, murder, and torture human beings? Did that help? Did the ability to get here's my question. Do you think that if that's the case, do you think that we should allow ISIS beheadings and like ISIS recruitment videos on YouTube and Twitter again? Answer the question. Do you believe so? Some of these people, honestly, like Taliban Tuck, who actually has sympathy for the Taliban these days because they're not woke. A lot of these people, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of these people may actually believe that there should be like ISIS beheading and Taliban recruitment videos that should be allowed on these websites because, hey, listen, if they're allowed to organize, then they'll just not do anything with that organization and then they won't like hurt people because they're able to organize. That's so dumb. Yeah, we need a little bit of beheading as an outlet. Yeah, a lot of them just know what they're doing. This is ridiculous. This is horrendous. Honestly, it's genuinely disgusting. Allowing people to organize, to build groups, to commit harm will not reduce harm. It actually increases harm in the world. I'm sorry, but this is actually true. Like, it's saying death threats is not an outlet. Going to therapy is an outlet, okay? I'm sorry. You telling everybody how much you want to kill like somebody who you don't like online is not a good outlet. You going to therapy and working through your mental issues should be the outlet that you need. Instead of letting anybody just say random, like whatever comes to their mind, how about instead of that, you send people to therapy so they can work through the issues that they have and so they won't say insane shit like that. Anybody ever think about that? Wild, I know, incredible. Have people actually work through their issues instead of giving like more voice and more clout and more ability to do harm to mentally ill people who need a doctor and not a Twitter account. Remarkable. Disgusting. I hate Glenn Greenwald. I have words for him, but I shouldn't say them. I should not speak. I should not speak. Yeah, the idea that stricter gun laws. Does like Tucker and Greenwald think that like pedophiles should be able to like organize? Do they think that they should be able to go out and talk about? They should be able to organize on all of these platforms. The legalization of pedophilia. You think they should do that? Do you think that would reduce the amount of pedophilia in the world if they're able to organize for more pedophilia? They bring up the pedo lobby. Hey, listen, if we just give them more power, then they'll just stop. Yeah, Matt Walsh would be the head of it. Now he'd be the head of the reduce the age of consent to 16 because you're a man. Well, actually, no. What was his idea? His idea was like when you hit puberty, you're an adult, right? It's not even, he said, I think it was like when you reach puberty, then you're an adult. And then when you reach 16, then you're of breeding age, if I remember correctly. When you reach 16, then you're of proper breeding age. Well, just so you know, if you ever thought that was true, from even like a biological standpoint, that's not true. You have the best fetal, you have the least fetal mortality rate when the girl is in her 20s, not in her teens. It's almost like teenagers are not supposed to be getting pregnant. Wow. Who could have thought of that? Apparently that's a controversial thing to say these days, especially with like Walsh and crew around. Apparently it's controversial to say that teenagers should not be getting pregnant because it's bad for them. It's wild. Remarkable even. Hey, but I guess like, I don't know. I guess they already believe that, right? Because they believe that Matt Walsh should be able to say that type of shit online, convince people that we should have more 16-year-olds get into breeding with each other sooner because they're an adult and they should be able to drink and they should be able to do all adult stuff because 16-year-olds are apparently adults, I guess. No, maybe even 15 because that's so close to 16. It's an arbitrary number, isn't it? At the end of the day, you're a real adult. Adolescence has gone too far, hasn't it? Oh, now these days we're even calling 16 and 15-year-olds children. Yikes. Can you imagine that? Bro, I hate these people so damn much. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.